Hello, yes, and there you are. Welcome back to I've been forced to create this content against my will because I'm a product of capitalism, a name that I do not regret making that long. If it looks like I've been crying today, it's because I have. I got these new eye drops that are supposed to make me less of a wuss, but they don't work. Today, we are talking about Irradiated Hamster Alert. This is an album that I made. This is the only album I've made, and I want to talk about it because I actually might take it down from the major platforms quite soon. Not for reasons of the platforms being dodgy. We'll get into it. Irradiated Hamster Alert is an album by Blue Alatar. Blue Alatar is my band. These days, Blue Alatar is folk rock broadly, but we dip into electronic stuff. We dipped into hip hop last year when we did some music with Professor Elemental, and we of course did Look You in the Eyes, which is good to know that's on the up next. Look You in the Eyes, Kicking and Screaming, No Thanks to You were an EP that I put together last year, which is very much folk rock and really represents where I would like to go with Blue Alatar in the future. Irradiated Hamster Alert was released in 2018 and took me 8 years of inconsistent work. It was one of the only things I was doing for 8 years, but I was meticulous, and I was trying to get a level of detail out of that album that I now understand I was not capable of as someone in their mid-20s. Irradiated Hamster Alert is 10 tracks, 10 instrumental tracks. I should know that, really, shouldn't I? 10 tracks. And it really broadly, there was kind of like a Greek tragedy narrative, because I'd studied classical civilizations at sixth form. I was sort of into these kind of story structures, so I kind of used that story structure in order to work out the best way to tell a story, even though we weren't going to use words. For example, if we're using the contours of a story, I know roughly where to put fast songs versus slow songs versus upbeat songs versus serious or heavy songs. That was kind of the idea. I invented this kind of steampunky world to give this album a cool aesthetic and to kind of create characters in. So the main sort of character is this giant robotic panda called Pandapopolis. Very Greek. Pandapopolis is created by an engineer called Mechanicles, because, not particularly discreet or subtle. Mechanicles created Pandapopolis to help set their peoples free from the tyrannical whoever was in charge. And what happens is Pandapopolis goes berserk. He takes over the steampunk world himself, and then Mechanicles and his mates have to then overthrow Pandapopolis themselves, and they do that because they hadn't learnt their lesson from employing animals previously. They get a hamster called Gilbert, and they pump him full of radioactive goo, and the radioactive hamster called Gilbert manages to overthrow Pandapopolis. So that's why we have song titles such as The Genius of Mechanicles, Rise of Pandapopolis, Fall of Pandapopolis. I don't think Gilbert is explicitly named. No, there was a song that didn't make it in, which was something to do with Gilbert. And then, this is just the sort of outline of the songs. In terms of instrumentation, it was... I thought it was a really coherent ensemble. There's lots of guitar. There's lots of kind of cinematic, industrial, mechanical sound design. The drums are kind of rock, but then there's little bits of like drum and bass influence and lots of like electronic influence drums as well. Lots of big synthesizers. I think I'd done a lot of Baby's first massive presets kind of stuff there. Lots of big orchestras and lots of what I thought was weird, interesting sound design. I was really proud of Irradiated Hamster Alert for a while. I think the songs themselves are fine, and I think the songs and the kind of mix is a good representation of what I was capable of doing in 2018. However, we are 7 years out from the completion of Irradiated Hamster Alert, and I don't really feel like it properly reflects what I'm trying to do now. And the reason I'm considering taking it down from digital platforms is because it is the only album Blue Alatar have released. I don't know why we have Conversation Hat in the corner here. Can you? There we go. That's better. The reason I kind of want to take it down is because it's the only album we have up here as Blue Alatar, and I feel like that kind of distracts from the really cool stuff, which is the singles and the EPs. Although having sort of come on here, I don't really know what it looks like if you've not heard anything from an artist before. From my analytics, it seems as if people are coming on here and maybe listening to the most recent thing, and then maybe going, "Oh, what's the album like?" Because it's an album. It's a 10-track album. It's an album. Oh, that's hard to say. An album-length album. Let's have a listen to that. And actually, that doesn't really represent what I'm doing now. I kind of think that actually the smart thing to do is put Irradiated Hamster Alert on ice, maybe revisit it at some point and do newer versions, because I've been thinking about doing another version of it. It's just that the project files are so old and so many versions of Cubase ago. I don't have a lot of the same plugins. I can't always work out what the MIDI is supposed to be, so it would be quite a lot of work to recreate it, but that might be worth it. I don't know. If I were to take it down from Spotify and so forth, I think I would still make it available fairly cheaply through Ko-fi. You'd still be able to download versions of it. Because the thing about these digital platforms for music is that they are essentially social media, right? So you kind of want people to focus as much as, quantity of content over quality of content to an extent, but actually when it's the only album that's up there, I think it distracts from what I'm trying to do now, which is different, and I think it's clear that I've gotten better at this kind of thing. I don't know, that's my thinking at the moment. So that's kind of, this has been on my mind, so this is why I wanted to do a look at Irradiated Hamster Alert. There's some cool stuff on it though, like even though it's not mixed particularly well, it's probably fine, right? But in my head there's loads that I would change about it. It's a very dense sound and I don't think it needs to be. There is some of my best guitar playing on those tracks, because that was when I was properly practicing like hours every day. And I just don't have time for that anymore, and I wish I did. But hey, that's all I want to say about Radiated Hamster Alert. God, they are red and puffy. I look very, very sad. It's fine. I'm not sad. I'm like medium most of the time. Anyway, go away.